The psychological weight of how you handle someone else's professional success, the reflexive flinch of comparison. The provocative question. When a colleague gets the promotion you wanted, why is your first instinct not curiosity, but quiet criticism? Why does your mind immediately whisper, "Yeah, but they got lucky. Yeah, but they had connections." You call it logic, but it's not logic. It's defense. The truth, most people won't admit that small internal sting. That's not about them. That's your psyche detecting a status threat. Because success, when it's close to you, doesn't feel like inspiration. It feels like exposure, the hidden mechanism that controls 90% of people. Your brain is wired for relative positioning, not absolute success. You don't measure your life in isolation. You measure it against the people in your immediate circle. So when someone near you resists, your mind doesn't say, "Success is possible." It says, "Why not me?" And that question is dangerous, because if you answer it honestly, you might have to confront your own stagnation. So instead, you distort reality. The reflex nobody talks about. The moment you hear their success, three things happen instantly. 1. Comparison activates. 2. Threat is perceived. 3. Ego defends. And that defense doesn't look aggressive. It looks subtle. You go quiet. You downplay their achievement. You act unimpressed. That's the indifference mask. The indifference mask. You don't say, "I feel threatened." You say, "Good for them." You don't say, "I'm behind." You say, "It's not that impressive." You don't say, "I wish that was me." You say, "I don't even want that." But here's the brutal reality. Indifference is not neutral. It is suppressed, envy wearing a calm face. And people can feel it. Just like empaths can sense unspoken tension in a room. Your internal friction leaks into your behavior. Micro-expressions, tone, timing. You think you're hiding it, Joe? Right? Not the social costs you don't see. When you react this way, you don't just damage your mindset, you damage your status. Because high-level individuals don't fear others' success. They study it, they align with it, they leverage it. But low-status behavior, it always looks like this. Silent resentment, passive dismissal, fake neutrality, the deeper psychological truth. Your reaction to someone else's success is a diagnostic tool. It reveals your level of self-trust, your relationship with growth, your tolerance for discomfort. In fact, your first thought about their success predicts your future more accurately than your current results ever will. The uncomfortable insight. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they can't emotionally tolerate being outpaced. So they cope. They shrink others mentally to protect themselves emotionally. And that's where they lose. Because the moment you start diminishing others, you stop learning from them. And the moment you stop learning, you lock yourself into your current level, a more dangerous perspective. The empath archetype teaches something most ignore. What you feel around others is often a reflection of your own internal state, not their reality. So that discomfort, it's not their success hurting you. It's your unprocessed potential demanding attention. The shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, why do they deserve it? Ask, what does this expose in me? That question alone separates amateurs from power players. The moment someone near you wins, you have two options. Protect your ego or expand your identity. Most people choose protection. That's why they stay exactly where they are. The architecture of the fragile ego. While your mind quietly rewrites reality to protect yourself. The high-status reframe. Indifference towards someone else's success is not confidence. It's a confession, a silent admission that your ego cannot hold reality without distortion. The lie your mind tells you instantly. The moment someone succeeds, your mind doesn't ask, how did they do it? It asks, how do I reduce this? And it does it fast. So fast you mistake it for truth, the three most dangerous labels. Watch closely. These are the ego's favorite weapons. They got lucky, they had connections, timing was perfect. Sounds reasonable, but psychologically, these are deflection mechanisms. What's actually happening? Your ego is trying to preserve one thing. Your identity is someone who should be further ahead, because if their success is real, and then your lack of it becomes your responsibility. And that is too heavy for an untrained mind, so you rewrite the story. You don't attack them directly, you reinterpret their success. You turn effort into luck, skill into privilege, discipline into coincidence. The dangerous pattern. At first, it feels harmless, but over time something subtle happens. You stop respecting excellence. And once that happens, you lose the ability to recognize what actually works. The scarcity illusion. Here's the deeper layer most people never question. You subconsciously believe success is limited, so if they win, you must be losing. This is the zero-sum illusion, and it controls everything. Because now, every achievement around you feels like a personal subtraction. Not neutral, not inspiring, but threatening. Where this comes from? This mindset is rarely conscious. It's often built early, when comparison was constant. Why aren't you like them? Look how well they're doing. Those patterns don't disappear. They evolve. They become internal narratives, and those narratives shape how you interpret reality, even in adulthood. The long-term psychological costs. If you keep this pattern, you don't just stay stuck. You drain yourself. Because maintaining a defensive ego requires constant mental justification, subtle emotional suppression, ongoing comparison. That's chronic psychological fatigue. Over time, it looks like burnout, not from work, but from internal resistance to reality. The most dangerous outcome. You become someone who critiques more than they create, analyzes more than they act, observes success, but never replicates it. And the worst part, you believe you're being realistic, the brutal truth. Every time you label someone's success as luck, you remove the need to study it. Every time you call it privilege, you remove the need to compete with it. Every time you dismiss it, you distance yourself from becoming it. This is self-sabotage disguised as intelligence. You think you're protecting your self-esteem. You're actually freezing your evolution. The psychological flip very few people make. High-level individuals don't ask, is their success fair? They ask, what patterns did they execute that I can because they understand something critical. Success leaves clues, but only if your ego doesn't filter them out. The Jungian edge. When you feel the urge to diminish someone, that's your shadow speaking. Not because you're a bad person, but because there's something in you that refuses to face its own potential. And as long as that shadow stays unconscious, it will keep distorting your perception of others. The internal test. Next time you see someone win, pause and ask yourself, am I analyzing or dismissing? Am I curious or defensive? Am I learning or protecting? That moment reveals your level. Fragile egos don't break loudly. They defend quietly. They distort reality just enough to stay comfortable and just enough to stay stuck. The high status of genuine celebration, where most people expose their level without saying a word. The internal conflict reveal. Your reaction to someone else's success is not a personality trait. It's a status signal, and everyone in the room can read it. The invisible hierarchy no one talks about. There are two types of people in every environment. One, the diminisher. Quietly uncomfortable, gives half-hearted praise, changes the subject, avoids eye contact. Two, the multiplier. Fully present, acknowledges excellence directly, elevates the moment, strengthens the connection. Only one of them raises. Why most people get this wrong? They think staying neutral protects them. It doesn't. Neutrality in moments of success feels like suppressed resistance, and people feel it instantly. Just like emotional undercurrents leak through behavior, your internal state is always visible beneath your words. The high status reframe. Here's what most never realize. Celebrating someone properly is not submission. It's power. Because it signals you are not threatened. You recognize value. You operate from abundance. The multiplier effect. When you acknowledge someone's success correctly, you don't lose status. You gain access. Because high performers remember one thing: who showed up clean when they were rising. The subtle behaviors that expose you. Watch for these low status signals. Nice. Must be good timing. Congrats. That industry is easy though. Yeah, I've thought about doing that too. These aren't their ego repairs disguised as conversation. The psychology behind it. The ego doesn't like being out, so instead of attacking directly, it dilutes the moment, minimizes impact, adds qualifiers, redirects focus. But high-level individuals do the opposite. They amplify, not artificially, not performatively, but precisely. They say things like, "That was well executed. You moved at the right time. That took discipline." Specific, clean, undeniable. Why this changes your position instantly? Because now you're not reacting emotionally. You're recognizing patterns, and people trust those who can identify reality without distorting it. The hidden power move, radical transparency. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, but powerful. Instead of hiding your ambition, you acknowledge it. You can say, "That's the level I'm aiming for. I respect that. I'm working towards something similar." No jealousy. No apology. Just clarity. Why this works? Because it removes the tension. There's no hidden comparison, no silent competition, just direct alignment with growth. And that level of honesty is rare. The trap most people fall into. They believe, if I praise too much, I look weaker. But the opposite is true. Only insecure people struggle to acknowledge excellence. Secure individuals do it effortlessly. The deeper psychological truth. When you resist celebrating others, you're not protecting your position. You're revealing your insecurity, and over time people categorize you as competitive in the wrong way, difficult to collaborate with, emotionally unreliable. The advanced perspective empaths, when conscious, understand something powerful. You don't need to absorb someone's success to recognize it. You can reflect it without losing yourself. That's what high-status behavior looks like. The strategic advantage. When you become someone who recognizes excellence clearly, speaks it without distortion, aligns without insecurity, you become socially valuable. Because now, you're not just another observer. You're someone who understands how success actually works. Most people think status comes from their own achievements. But in reality, it's revealed in how they handle someone else's moment. Reprogramming the involuntary response, where envy stops controlling you and starts working for you. The identity shift, your first reaction to someone's success, is not the problem. Your second reaction is, because the first is instinct. The second is identity. Step 1 audit. The first thought, without lying to yourself when you hear the news. Pause. Don't perform. Don't correct it immediately. Just observe. Did you feel tension? Did you minimize them internally? Did you compare instantly? That raw reaction, that's your untrained psyche. And like any pattern, it can be reprogrammed. Most people skip this step. They jump straight to fake positivity. Good for them. I'm happy for them. But internally, still tight, still resistant. That split creates inauthentic presence. And people feel it. The real work. You don't suppress the reaction. You decode it. Ask, what exactly triggered me? What does this expose about my current level? What am I avoiding by dismissing this? That's how you turn emotion into data. Step 2. The 24-hour rule. Never respond immediately. When your ego is activated, give yourself space. Because time does something powerful. It separates reaction from strategy. Within 24 hours, your response becomes intentional, composed, aligned with your future self. Why this works? Because manipulators, and even ordinary people, often rely on your immediate reaction to define your position. If you respond instantly, you reveal your internal state. If you delay, you choose your frame. Silence and timing are not passivity. They are control. Step 3. Shift from outcome to pattern. Stop focusing on, they got the promotion. Start focusing on, what exactly did they do right? Break it down. Timing, communication, positioning, consistency, relationships, because success is rarely random. It's patterned. And here's the brutal truth. If you can't identify the pattern, it's usually because your ego blocked it, not because it wasn't there. Step 4. Convert envy into strategy. Envy is not weakness. It's misdirected awareness. It's your mind saying, pay attention. This matters, but most people waste it. They sit in Italiano, they justify it, they suppress it. Instead, you extract from it. The elite question, ask this every time. What would I have to become to replicate this? Not copy. Become, because results follow identity. Step 5. Build an abundance network. Low-level environments operate on comparison. High-level environments operate on expansion. In those circles, one person's win increases everyone's access. Information flows faster. Opportunities multiply. Why this changes everything? Because now, you're not surrounded by people you compete with emotionally. You're surrounded by people you learn from strategically. Step 6. Active constructive responding. Most people say, congrats. High statusa, individuals do more. They ask how it happened. Highlight what was done well. Engage with the process. This turns a moment into a bridge, not just a reaction. The difference is subtle, but massive. One response ends the conversation. The other builds future alignment. Final integration, the identity shift. At this level, you no longer walk into rooms thinking, am I ahead or behind? You walk in thinking, what can I extract, refine, and apply? That's the mindset shift. The ultimate realization, you were never competing with others. You were competing with your interpretation of them. And once you control that, you control everything that follows. Most people spend their lives quietly threatened by the success around them. A few learn to use it, and those few become the ones others study next.